All right, good morning, everybody. It is May 13th, which just so happens to be my birthday. So I thought I would get out here and shoot a little video for you guys about shade trees because the heat is coming on here in Phoenix and we need to be prepared for summer. And a lot of you guys do not have any kind of shade at all whatsoever on your properties. So I thought this would be a good opportunity. If I can talk over all the lovebirds, man, those things are loud. I thought I'd take this little opportunity to show you guys my top 5 favorite shade trees for Phoenix or for the valley here in Arizona. And these are going to be just shade trees, no fruit. Now, these do happen, all the trees that I'm going to show you here, these just so happen to flower. So you do get another benefit out of the trees that I'm going to show you, and that's most of them are nitrogen fixers, and they're going to give you a ton of shade, and they're going to give you this microclimate. They're going to start to build this microclimate that you guys are all wanting, just like what I have. So what I thought I would start from the very, very beginning with you guys and start with some shade trees. And these are going to be 5 easy shade trees that you guys can all start with, which are going to give you a larger canopy on your property. These are going to be bigger trees, guys. Let's call these 5 bigger trees also. So we're going to start right here with this mesquite, because this mesquite is probably the single saving grace that saved my whole house on the backside there from the afternoon sun. So this is an enormous tree. You can see it now. The trunk on this thing is absolutely enormous. And this is one that I planted from a seed about 8 years ago, I want to say. So this one, in that 8 years time, has covered the majority of this front that's out here on my afternoon side. So this is west facing. Let me see if I can get further back so you guys can actually see the scale of this tree and what I'm talking about. This is a big tree, guys. So if we can get far enough back. Okay. So there she is. Giant mesquite tree, giant canopy. This is on the west side. So get even further back here so you guys can actually see the scale of this. Okay, so there's my 2 trucks, and you can see the size of that tree. This thing just gives an enormous canopy, green canopy, and it covers a huge area in my front yard. Plus, it also gives me covered parking. Look at this. It shades the trucks here, and then it shades the house in the afternoon side. Now, what's interesting about this is you can see how much of the road it covers. So this is a two-lane road here, and you can see that that tree covers at least half, if not more, of the road. So look how cool it is. Look at this giant swath of green that I have that not very many other people have. There's one tree down there at the end you can see, at the very, very end, but for the most part, there's no trees covering the street. You can see all the way down, right? You can see that there's no big trees, there's nothing shading and cooling down the road except for my tree here. And then I had a couple seedlings that got germinated at the neighbor's house right across the street. You can see these 2 beautiful mesquite trees. These 2 came up on their own. These 2 came from this tree. So this tree seeded these 2 trees, and then he kept them. So he really liked them. They got a nice shape on them and a nice little canopy on them already. And you can see that that one's got a nice shape too. And what they're now doing is they're providing a lot of afternoon shade to connect the rest of the street. So eventually, with these two mesquites on this side and the big one on this side, I'm gonna get a full canopy over the street. So it's gonna be like driving through a tunnel here, because I'll have the mesquites over here, my mesquite here, and then it's gonna be in a total green tunnel, and the street will never see daylight again. So you wanna talk about cooling. Not only have I cooled the entire property down, but I'm starting to cool down the street and the neighbor's yard adjacent to me, so that we can continue this cooling effect. All right, guys, so that's mesquite trees. I would definitely have one of these, especially if you have a larger property. I have a smaller property, and this is 1/3 of an acre, and I still have one of these giant mesquite trees here, and you can see the benefits of this. And you can hear the lovebirds, which are in there right now, and the lovebirds actually eat the mesquite beans. So what they do is they farm the mesquite trees. They eat the seed pods. The seeds drop down, the seeds germinate, and then when they grow, the lovebirds eat them. So the lovebirds are pretty much here all year long, and they are farming these mesquite pods. So if you guys want a bunch of lovebirds, like the ones that I have here, you are definitely going to want a mesquite tree, because that is their favorite. Big old lush green tree. All right, guys, so that covers mesquite tree, which would be my choice number 1. All right, everybody, I hope you can see this one. I got the sun on my side on this side now. So my second choice is going to be a jacaranda tree. So a jacaranda tree is very similar to a mesquite tree in the way that its leaves are. You can see that it's got a very similar leaf to it, which is a leaf that allows a little bit of sunlight to come through, but not a lot of sunlight. So it does a lot of filtered sunlight. And not to mention that, but look at the blooms. Look at the blooms on this thing. Absolutely beautiful out here. With those big blue purple flowers on top of that tree, they just look amazing. So let me get under this one so we can get a little bit of shade aspect here. Ah, that's nice. Out of the sun. Underneath the jacaranda. So you can see that the jacaranda is very similar to the mesquite, except it's got those big purple blooms at the top. And this is kind of a bigger tree too now. You see this one's got a pretty good size trunk on it, and he goes way up there too. So this one's about 20 feet, and it's got all those flowers and all that width. Now I'll tell you, these are a really cool tree and a very important tree, especially here around the nursery, because I use these trees as more or less a staging prop to give me some shade if I need some. So I don't put any shade up here. I let these guys be in the full sun. But if I've got some sensitive plants, what I will often do is, I've got a huge jacaranda here in a pot. You can see they'll even get really huge in a pot. Right, and then that gives some nice speckled sunlight down to, you know, like say mango trees or Barbados cherries or whatever I kind of have in this area, a little bit more sensitive plants. I like to use the jacarandas and kind of stage those out here as my shade. So you can see that they're a really good shade tree, being able to survive here in Arizona. Let's put it. So that is the jacaranda. Here is a shot from far back. And then my third choice, or my third pick for shade trees, is the one right behind it. And you can see that that one's quite a bit taller than the jacaranda. You can see where the jacaranda blooms are, and then you can see the tree above it. So that tree, or my third choice for a very tall, beautiful canopy shade flowering tree, would be the rainbow eucalyptus. And the rainbow eucalyptus seems to grow just as normal as every other eucalyptus, or that's what I found to be the case. Anyway, they like lots of water, and they like lots of food, lots of compost. So this thing is enormous. This is probably the largest tree on the property. This is one in the backyard. I've got one in the front yard that's catching up. That one is getting up to some size like this one. But you can see this one provides an enormous amount of shade. In fact, this tree alone shades this entire guest house that I have back here. So this is an enormous tree, guys. This is one of your upper canopy trees. But you can see I'm getting a lot of just beautiful shade from this tree, and this tree is also enormous. And just a beautiful tree. Planted right there near the house. That would be a nightmare for most people. All right, guys, so that is the rainbow eucalyptus, and that is choice number 3. All right, so number 4 on the list. Number 4 on the list is, of course, the moringa. And the moringa is extremely successful here in Phoenix, Arizona. You can see how many pods and blooms are on this thing. This thing is just absolutely bending over from the weight of all the pods and the blooms. But it is also a huge shade tree that comes back every year. Even when you cut it down, we religiously cut these moringas down to a smaller size. But you can see this one's he's kind of bending that way, and he's canopying over some of the nursery trees over there. So I'm definitely going to leave it the way it is. But you can see the amount of blooms and pods on this thing. I mean, there's more of those than there is actual leaves. This thing is just absolutely full. So this one happens to also be edible, which is kind of nice because you can eat the moringa tree. It's a very, very healthy tree. But it is also a really good benefit as a shade tree because it'll take the full sun and it will give you a little bit of this spotty shade aspect that you're looking for. Albeit these are a little bit messier. I don't know if I would put these near a pool because these do like to shed and drop their pods and their leaves and flowers. They are a little bit messier, but man, do you get the honeybees with this tree. So I would say that my 4th selection would of course be the good old moringa tree. All right, guys, and last one here, number 5. For my last choice of shade trees that are also flowering trees and not fruit trees here for Arizona. If I had 5, it would be these 5. And the last one being the Royal Poinsiana. So I grow a lot of these Royal Poinsianas, and these also give you that same shade aspect. You can see this one's quite a bit taller than me. I got to reach up to kind of get to the leaves, but this one has absolutely stunning leaves, and they also get beautiful blooms on them. Show you a couple of these. Here's another one here. So you can see that they have that very, very similar leaf. They're very fast growing. This one is also above me. This one is also being used as a shade tree, but the Royal Poinsianas are either going to be covered in red blooms or they're going to be covered in yellow. I'm growing a lot of the rare yellow Poinsianas. I've got a bunch of those growing too. So now if you've got some of these big trees in your landscape, you can see that they're going to provide a lot of beauty also. So you've got the rainbow eucalyptus. That one's going to bloom white. That one's in the background. Then you've got the blue or purple blooms from the Jacaranda. Then you've got the red and yellow blooms from the Royal Poinsianas. You've got white on the moringas. Here's another moringa. Here in a pot, you've got the white blooms from them. And then the mesquites are going to give you a long yellow bloom. So they are also very beautiful trees, guys. And like I said, I grow a lot of all of these different trees. I like to start these guys as little as little starters here. Kind of show you some of these are all Poinsianas. And you saw some of the Jacarandas, of course, in the pots. And moringas you can also grow in a pot. This one's in a pot here, although they don't really like pots. That's one tree that doesn't really like the pots, is the moringa. But you can definitely do the Royal Poinsiana in one, and the Jacaranda in one. And I think I would do the mesquite in the ground, or the rainbow eucalyptus in the ground, because they are going to be much bigger trees. All right, guys, so I hope this video was helpful to provide you guys information on getting some shade in your yard and getting that nice shade aspect that these types of trees will give you. These are all considered desert trees. They do much better with a lot of water because they're going to grow really big, really fast, and they're going to start blooming for you and start to give you some of those microclimates that you're looking for. So I thought I would do this video real quick and do a top 5 shade trees that do not fruit but do flower that you can put in your landscape. I think I'm going to start doing some of these top 5s if you guys like them. I would like to do a top 5 shade trees that also provide fruit. And of course, Jay's favorite top 5 fruit trees. I got a whole list of these I want to do so that you guys can get more informed on what trees to kind of start with and what the tiers mean, because a lot of people ask me, what is tier 1, what is tier 2, tier 3? Well, these are all tier 1 trees. These are all trees that you would start with to get your food forest going, because these trees are going to take 5 or 6 years before they become a nice canopy tree for you. So it's good to already have something like that started to provide that microclimate, so when you eventually start putting in fruit trees, you can put in more sensitive ones. Now you'll notice I didn't cover the mulberries. The mulberries will be covered on another video of the shade fruit trees. That one will be in that one, of course, but this one I just wanted to go over strictly shade trees that I have and that I recommend and that are going to look good in any landscape no matter what, and will provide you with some shade and definitely with some pollinators and some nitrogen fixing. So you really can't beat these 5 trees as far as microclimate building in Arizona. All right, guys, that is it. I know it was a little bit of a longer one, but wanted to get some more information out there on some of these shade trees, because last year just kicked everybody's butt as far as the sun went. And so we had to rethink things a little bit and start to get more people towards shade trees and their microclimate first, so that they're not losing all these fruit trees over the summertime. All right, guys, thank you for watching. To kind of recap, it would be mesquite tree, Poinsiana, Jacaranda, eucalyptus, and moringa. Thank you for watching.